Keep talking, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Really nothing?
31, 32, 33, 24.
Okay, okay. My turn? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the inauguration of the University of Minnesota's 16th president, Eric Kaler. I'm Bua Zhang, reporter with KARE 11 TV here in Minneapolis, and also a proud U alum, and I'm joined by university historian Ann Flum, also a U grad herself. We are live at Ted Mann Hall, where the ceremony will begin in just 15 minutes. But before the inauguration starts, we're going to take a closer look at just who President Kaler is and what this ceremony means for him and the university. Let's go live now to the stage where the inauguration will take place today. This is the first time an inauguration has been hosted in Ted Mann. Northrop Auditorium is a popular site for inaugurations, but as we all know, there is renovations happening there. So this year's ceremony has been moved to the campus's West Bank, and the orchestra will be playing some classical selections in a little bit. And then we'll later be playing the school song, Hail Minnesota, which means a lot to this university. And Anne, can you tell us a little bit more about the significance of this song?
I would be delighted to. It was composed in 1904, 1905, and was used as the Minnesota anthem and song on serious occasions. Not like the rouser at football games, but on very important grown-up occasions. And the state, it became so attached to the song that they asked in 1945, could it also become the state song? So the only change is when it's used as the state song, a refrain is, to thee our state so dear. Today the refrain will be, to thee our college dear.
So that's one song that was composed by a U student, but it's not the only one that's being performed today. That was written by someone here.
Alumnus Stephen Paulus, with Michael Dennis Brown composing, doing the words, the libretto. The piece is called "The Road Home."
Great.
And there is a mixture of classical and other pieces performed by the University of Minnesota Symphony and others.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. And as we mentioned, Eric Kaler is the 16th president of the university, and he's only the second to also be an alum of the university as well. And we wanted to get his reaction on what it's like being back on campus once again. Can you scroll up to where I talk, please?
I'm really thrilled about the opportunity to come back to my alma mater. The University of Minnesota had a tremendous impact on me early in my career. It really transformed me as a graduate student, helped me become the scientist that I am, and provided me a really great foundation for a terrific career.
President Kaler comes to us from Stony Brook University in New York. And Ann, can you give us a little bit more about President Kaler's background?
Yes, he got his PhD in 1982 from one of our most distinguished departments, chemical engineering. Mm-hmm. And he has composed and written more than 200 learned papers and has been elected a member of the National Academy of Engineering. So we're very honored to have such a distinguished scholar.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting was at the freshman convocation this year, he's an engineer but really emphasized the importance of liberal arts. So what does that mean for the university to have somebody like that?
Well, I think it emphasizes the importance of balance across the disciplines, because we have the arts and sciences and professional subjects, and so we're a complicated place. And to feel confident that, as has been the case with his predecessors, there is a balance across the curriculum is wonderful.
Right, and I think he'll mention some of that in his inaugural address, but there's some other things in addition to what his speech today that we should be looking for, the mace and the medallion.
Absolutely. The mace bearer, this illustrates the theme of interdisciplinarity, is Professor Catherine Sinkink, a Regents professor, one of our most distinguished honors, and she is carrying the mace. It's about 3.5 feet long. It is carved aluminum with a crystal globe, and it symbolizes peaceful authority, although its origins were as a medieval weapon.
Great, and what about the medallion?
And the medallion is about 2.5 inches in diameter and has carved on it the University of Minnesota Regents seal, and that is a gift to the president.
Great. Thanks, Ann. And today we are inaugurating the 16th president of the university and the first president since President Brunick's inauguration back in 2002. The University of Minnesota journalism student Brianna Foss gives us a look at the history of inaugurations on campus.
For 160 years, the University of Minnesota has been presided over by 15 presidents, all who have made great impacts on the university's students, faculty, and communities in the surrounding area. This inauguration marks the 13th in the university's history as it welcomes its 16th president, President Eric W. Kaler. In Kaufman, students can take a trip back in time to see photos of past inaugurations, presidents, and learn about the university's history.
It's on the main floor of Kaufman near the theater, and it's free and everyone's welcome to see it.
The first inauguration was held in December of 1869 in Old Main, which was the university's first and only building at the time. In 1904, Old Main burnt down, and Shevlin Hall was built in its place. Since then, 3 inaugurations have been held at the Armory and the rest at Northrop Auditorium.
Throughout the university's history, 8 inaugurations have been held at Northrop Auditorium, but due to construction, this year's inauguration will be held here at Ted Mann Concert Hall.
This year's theme for the inauguration is Minnesota All. It describes our campuses, communities, and our own corner of the world populated by dynamic citizens. Attending the ceremony will be a delegate from the oldest university in the world, Graz in Austria, where President Kaler was a visiting professor in 1995. Also, a delegate from Harvard, America's oldest university, will be attending. If you can't make it to the inauguration but you wish to partake in the festivities, and get free food.
There will be a public reception for everybody in the university community after the ceremony back in Kaufman Union.
And while the inauguration marks the ceremonial start of President Kaler's term, he's actually been active on campus already this summer, getting to know both the students and the community in which the university sits. The president and his wife, Karen, have done a lot in the past few weeks, from helping students move into dorms to even attending a 4th of July parade down in Delano. President Kaler has also met with students and faculty, getting a close-up look at the place he and his family will be calling home for a while. And while President Kaler will be living in the Twin Cities, he will be presiding over 5 campuses. And Ann, can you tell us about those 4 other campuses outside of the Twin Cities?
Absolutely. University of Minnesota Crookston, in the northwest corner of the state on the Red River Valley, is originally was a school of agriculture, but since 1982 has been giving bachelor's degrees. University of Minnesota Duluth is, of course, in Duluth, and it is the home to the Bulldog football team and the hockey teams.
And hockey champs.
And hockey champs,
yeah.
Absolutely. And it is also it has 12,000 students, graduate and undergraduate programs, and is known for the Caesar Pelly Weber Music Hall.
Yeah, that's presiding over those 4 campuses is certainly a demanding position, but of course one of the perks of being the president is being able to live in the East Cliff estate in St. Paul, and journalism student Sophia Waldvogel got an inside look at the official estate and brings us more.
We forgot Duluth and Rochester.
Located high on the bluff of the Mississippi River sits East Cliff, the official presidential residence for the University of Minnesota. And with its white picket fence and sprawling gardens, it's hard to miss. The 20-room mansion rests on 2 acres of land and has arguably one of the best views of the Minneapolis skyline. The estate was built in 1922 for local lumber businessman Edward Brooks and his family. A carriage house, summer house, pools, and terraces add to the charm of the estate. The Brooks family donated the house to the university in 1958. Since then, the property has served as more than just a private residence, but also as a living laboratory for the university. Architecture and design students assist on home improvements, while horticulture students tend to the exotic gardens in the yard. Much of the furniture, artwork, and sculptures are on loan from collections from the Weizmann Art Museum and Bell Museum of Natural History. In July, President Kaler and his wife Karen became the 8th presidential family to call East Cliff home. But according to legend, this was almost not the case. While deciding which surrounding school would receive their home, the Brooks' family dog, Rusty, got into some trouble while taking a swim in the neighboring University of St. Thomas pool. After the incident, the University of Minnesota became the chosen recipient for the home. To this day, Rusty's memory hasn't been forgotten. Thanks to Rusty, for over 50 years, presidents of the university and their families have been privileged to live in one of the most historic homes in Minnesota.
As we get closer to the start of the ceremony, we're about 7 minutes out now. Let's go back to Ted Mann Concert Hall and get a look at what's going on in there. The orchestra is still playing while delegates are coming in and getting ready to line up to walk in. And another interesting point of today's ceremony is the attendance of these delegates from all over these universities. And can you tell us who these delegates are and how they're chosen?
Absolutely. The university invites the presidents of other institutions, and those presidents select the delegates. And the delegate from the University of Graz, which, by the way, is by Minnesota standards very, very old, but is not the oldest in the world, is Hedron Myrtle, who is a graduate student here at Minnesota, selected by her college in Graz to be the lead delegate. So she will march in first in the procession. You can see on the screen some pictures of the delegates right now.
And some of those delegates are in very colorful robes. Can you tell us, I know they mean certain things, can you tell us what means what?
Absolutely. The 3 stripes on the robe means the wearer has a PhD, a doctorate. The colors generally reflect the colors of the institutions. And although a lot are black, but you have the choice to have the color of your institution in your robe.
What I was interesting was, back in the heyday, these robes actually had a practical reason to keep people warm, right?
Absolutely. In medieval classrooms, they were very, very cold.
So how did we get from that to wearing them for ceremonies like this?
I think the tradition just stuck, and in England and Europe, the professors wear their robes in class.
And are all these delegates from the U, or are they from all over? I know you mentioned something before about other universities as well.
Right, right. There are more than 56 different institutions represented in this ceremony, and the delegates were selected by their respective presidents to be here and we have a large number of more than 25 representing University of Minnesota colleges and universities.
And there are also some, you mentioned some European universities as well being represented here today.
Absolutely, University of Graz and University of London and University of Gothenburg in Sweden.
How is it that we're getting people from all over the world interested in coming here to see our president today?
Well, or sometimes they may be here already, the way Heidi was as a student. They might not necessarily travel all that way. They may be just selected as a delegate. So they represent their institution, but they may not have come from the institution.
And when they march in, are they marching in a particular order and then taking the stage?
The order is that the oldest university comes first, and that would be Graz in this procession, and followed by Harvard, and then all the way to institutions founded in the last 25 years.
Do you know who is in the end of this lineup today?
Well, Century College, I think, would be one of the more recent one, and some of the Minnesota professional organizations would be towards the end.
And so the procession starts in, and then what happens from there?
The procession enters, the delegates enter, and then on the stage will come the group called the Platform Party. And the Platform Party consists of Frank Bates, who's the Regents Professor and Chair of the Inauguration Committee, and Regent Linda Cohen, who's Chairman of the Board. Both she and Professor Bates will give remarks and a welcome. And then there will be more musical selections, and then the inaugural address by President Kaler.
Great. And then I know you've seen a lot of these inaugurations. What difference do you see between President Kaler's and the ones that have come before him?
Well, I think that there's a lot more attention in this ceremony to student involvement. And this production, for example, is being performed and put together by young alums and students. And the exhibition in Coffin Union is prepared by students, and there are things called student ambassadors doing.
They were tweeting before, weren't they?
Tweeting before, and so I have to learn what tweeting is, but this is so that he has a particular interest in having students involved. He's had lunch with students, and so this is a particular focus of his.
And his whole campus crawl, from what I saw, there were students following him, taking pictures,
absolutely,
and tweeting, telling people
right, exactly,
going on as well. Is there a different feel with this when you think from other inaugurations?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that in the end it's the same, because once the procession begins, it's the same dignified ceremony that could go back to 1585 in Graz.
And it is almost 11 o'clock, and that means we are now going to turn it over to Ted Mann for the start of the inauguration. We want to thank you again for joining us for this historic moment, and we'll take it back to Ted Mann and enjoy the ceremony.
rise for the academic procession for President Kaler's inauguration and remain standing through the national anthem.
at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated.
Hi, President Kaler. I'm Forrest Izuno, head of the Rosemount Research and Outreach Center and the Southern Research and Outreach Center in Waseca.
Congratulations, President Kaler, from the Crookston Student Association.
Congratulations and welcome, President Kaler. My name is Danielle Orr. I'm a sophomore at the University of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm a student at the University of Minnesota Morris,
studying kinesiology. I'm also a student worker at the University of Minnesota's Urban Research Outreach and Engagement Center.
My name is Hannah Sorensen. I'm a chemistry and psychology major.
We just wanted to send you a warm welcome from here on the north side of Minneapolis.
Congratulations, President Kaler, and good luck.
I'm Zach Albrecht, a new residence assistant down in University of Minnesota Rochester at the new building 318 Commons. And hope great things come from your presidency. Thank you.
On behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome you to the University of Minnesota.
我们来自明大上海校友会，欢迎 Kaler 校长加入明尼苏达大学。
Добро пожаловать. Welcome to the University of Minnesota, President Kaler, from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. I'm Arsen Babayev, a 2002 graduate of the College of Education and Human Development.
Greetings from Rabat, Morocco, where I'm the United States Ambassador. I'm Sam Kaplan, and I'm a graduate of the University of Minnesota Business School and Law School, and we welcome new President Kaler.
And Sylvia Kaplan, also a proud alumni of the University of Minnesota. Welcome, President Kaler.
From Istanbul, we give you a very warm welcome, President Kaler, to the University of Minnesota. This is Mark and Nedrit Butler, Architecture 72.
Vanuit Utrecht University in Nederland. I'm Jan Veldhuis, Fulbright Scholar at your University 6768. Dear colleague, much success and satisfaction in your new function.
From Tokyo, Japan, inside of Tokyo Dome, President Kaler, welcome back to University of Minnesota. Go Gophers!
Buenos días, Presidente Kaler. Felicitaciones de España.
Hamig Jorskir fra Háskóla Íslands. Congratulations, President Kaler. We look very much forward to continued friendship and collaboration with the University of Minnesota.
Welcome, President Kaler, to the University of Minnesota. We are students with CIMAS in Quito, Ecuador.
Saludos desde la Fundación CIMAS, Quito, Ecuador.
Good morning. Welcome to the inauguration of the 16th President of the University of Minnesota. I'm Frank Bates, Regents Professor and Department Head of Chemical Engineering and Material Science. I extend a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us today: Governor Dayton, members of the State Senate and House of Representatives, Board of Regents, Regents Emeriti, mayors, chancellors, representatives from other institutions, faculty, staff, and students who have taken time out to join us in person or at various remote sites for this inauguration. Eric Kaler brings to the University of Minnesota an unparalleled blend of experience and vision at a pivotal time in our great state. His academic training reflects the best this country can offer, and he has walked the walk as a professor, department chair, dean, and provost. Earlier this year, Dr. Kaler petitioned for tenure in my department, which was granted on academic merit. Over the last 3 years, while managing a large academic institution, he published 17 outstanding articles in leading scientific journals. I first met Eric Kaler nearly 30 years ago in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where we were both engaged in probing the molecular structure of soft materials. He was a persuasive guy, one who had managed to talk Karen, a local native, into marrying him and moving to Minnesota, where he was a graduate student. What I most recall was his willingness to relieve me as a chairman of a thankless job as an outside user committee chair at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Eric, is there no job you will decline? Thomas Jefferson believed that education was the key to securing our republic, and in 1784 he wrote, quote, "We hope to avail the state of those talents which nature has sown as liberally among the poor as the rich, but which perish without use if not sought for and cultivated," unquote. Today, more than ever, these words ring true, and the University of Minnesota, under the leadership of President Kaler, stand ready to serve the state, country, and world in this noble enterprise. Please join me in welcoming the chair of the Board of Regents of the University of Minnesota, Linda Cohen.
Good morning, Governor Dayton, President Kaler, distinguished guests, and every category that Professor Bates has just welcomed, including our alumni and donors who care so deeply about this great university. On behalf of the Regents of the University of Minnesota, who will be individually named later in the program, a very warm welcome to all of you. We're so glad you could join us for this momentous occasion. For a very long time, I have recognized how important, how significant the position of President of the University of Minnesota is, and how revered the person in that role often becomes. Eric, from what I hear, you're moving toward that. It was brought home to me when I was a very little kid. Many, many years ago, my parents said to me and to my sister and my brother, who are joining us here today, that they were having company for dinner that night and that we needed to be on our very best behavior. Now, my dad was sort of strict, and so the three of us thought we were always on our very best behavior. But they said, especially this night, you need to be on your best behavior because the president of the University of Minnesota is coming for dinner. That president was James Lewis Morrill, the 8th president of the University of Minnesota. And here we are today, inaugurating the 16th president of the University of Minnesota. And today, more than ever, 8 presidents later. That position, that person, is so important to the people of Minnesota, to the state of Minnesota, to the country, and to the world. So, Eric, I welcome you to an eminent group, and I applaud your wisdom, your energy, your sense of humor, and the deep devotion you have already shown to the University of Minnesota. Welcome to all of you, and Eric, to this esteemed role.
I have the distinct honor of introducing the Governor of the state of Minnesota, Mark Dayton.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am honored to participate in this installation of Dr. Eric W. Kaler as the 16th president of the University of Minnesota. As a student who earned his doctorate in chemical engineering at this great university, as a distinguished alumnus, and now as a successful applicant to be its president, Dr. Kaler knows how crucial the University of Minnesota is to our state's educational, social, and economic vitality. The European immigrants who settled in Minnesota during the first half of the 19th century understood the enormous importance of education. That is why they founded this institution in 1851, 7 years before Minnesota gained statehood. During the past 160 years, it has grown into a public university of world renown, with the fourth largest main campus student body in the United States and some 68,000 students in all of its campuses across this state. It has graduated hundreds of thousands of very accomplished and successful graduates, nationally and world-renowned leaders in their fields, including 2 vice presidents, one of whom, our beloved Walter Mondale and his family, are in our hearts and prayers today, 55 members of Congress, 13 governors of Minnesota and other states, 18 Nobel laureates between alumni and faculty, and 5 Pulitzer Prize winners. Hundreds of famous women and men in the arts, letters, theater, film, and entertainment. Thousands of successful businessmen and women, including my grandfather, G. Nelson Dayton. And millions of outstanding lawyers, civic leaders, educators, police officers, firefighters, doctors, nurses, and citizens. No one has contributed more to the betterment of our state, our nation, and our world than the University of Minnesota and its graduates. In Massachusetts, the greater Boston area alone has 8 major research universities. Our entire state has 1, the University of Minnesota. Yet the annual $8.6 billion economic impact reported by this university equals the combined economic impacts reported by all 8 Boston research universities, including Harvard, MIT, and Brandeis. My father often told me, if you have all of your eggs in one basket, you'd better take mighty good care of that basket. Until recent years, our predecessors, elected officials, civic leaders, and citizens understood that adage and honored it by building and supporting this priceless asset, the University of Minnesota. Do we? For Minnesota to excel, the University of Minnesota must be excellent. For us to compete in this world economy, we must have a world-class state university. For today's and tomorrow's U of M students to learn the knowledge and skills they will need to succeed, they must receive an outstanding education here and be able to afford it. To shortchange the University of Minnesota and our MnSCU colleges and universities is to shortchange our children and our grandchildren and ourselves. When I was growing up here in Minnesota, a story was told about the legendary Gopher football coach, Bernie Bierman, whose teams won 6 Big Ten championships, 5 national titles, and produced 21 All-Americans, and how he recruited his best players. Each spring, he supposedly drove across the Minnesota farmlands where he encountered young men tilling the soil, steering their heavy plows behind teams of horses or oxen. Coach Bierman would ask each farm lad for directions to the nearest town. If he pointed with his fingers, the coach drove on. If, however, the young man lifted up the plow to show the direction, He recruited him to play football for the University of Minnesota. Coach Bierman knew that to have the best team, you had to recruit the best talent and then teach them how to become their best. Today's University of Minnesota must recruit the best: football players, students, faculty, and administrators. Today, their success requires more brains than brawn, so their potential greatness must be measured differently. Nevertheless, to attract the best, this university must offer the best. If we want excellence from its graduates, we must fund and support its own excellence. From my conversations with President Kaler, I know that he understands this imperative. From his own outstanding successes, he understands what this university must offer to prepare its students for their success. Yet for him to succeed here, for this great university to be the very best, he must have all of our support. The Regent's support, the faculty's support, the legislature's support, the business community's support, the people of Minnesota's support, and my support. I have assured him of mine. Please take the next opportunity to promise him yours, and then show it. I now invite President Kaler and Regents Professor Catherine Sickink to join me at the podium.
You come to us.
President Kaler, by the power invested in me as Governor of the state of Minnesota, I present you with the mace of the University of Minnesota, a symbol of leadership. May you lead it to greatness.
Thank you, Governor.
By the authority of the Regents of the University of Minnesota, I present you, Eric Kaler, with the symbol of your office as 16th President of the University of Minnesota.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I first came to the University of Minnesota in September of 1978. I was about to be 22 years old. And I was about to be a graduate student in the best chemical engineering program in the world. And I had a fellowship to support me, which was the only way this son of a working class family was going to graduate school. That was my first encounter with the excellence of this university and with the mission and public support that made it accessible to me. That was the University of Minnesota then, and in many ways, what it still is today. But those twin pillars of excellence and access, those two foundational stones for the prosperity of the state of Minnesota, have never been more at risk. That's why I'm devoting this next chapter of my life to the mission of this university and the future of its students. But I am just one person. I cannot achieve excellence for this university alone, not in these unusual times, not amid increasingly scarce resources, and not across this vast organization. That is why I am asking you, students, faculty, staff, elected officials, business leaders, alumni, and citizens of Minnesota, I am asking you today to join me to move this great university forward and to tell our wonderful stories. I am asking you to help me instill pride in this great university among every citizen in our state. Together, we can fulfill this university's extraordinary promise, but my friends, we have work to do. Governor Dayton, thank you for your part in the ceremony today and for your continuous and unswerving loyalty and assistance to this great university. Thank you so much. Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Larson, Regents Allen, Beeson, Broad, Frobenius, Hung, Johnson, McMillan, Ramirez, and Sviggum. Thank you for your wisdom, your governance of this great university, and your confidence in me as its president. Mayors Coleman and Ryback, other honored elected officials, faculty, students, and staff here and in watching in Crookston, Duluth, Morris, and Rochester, welcome. Alumni here and watching around the world, friends in our extension offices and research and outreach centers across the state, all of our honored delegates from Minnesota, from across the nation, and around the world, members of the inaugural committee and its chair, my good friend Frank Bates, Regents Professor Catherine Sickink, our mace bearer, all of our distinguished guests and friends, welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us. I am particularly touched that so many of my Delaware and Stony Brook friends are here today, including the president of Stony Brook University, Dr. Samuel L. Stanley, Jr. Sam, thank you so much for coming. As I said, September 1978 was important to me, but it pales in comparison to the morning of June 17, 1979. That was the day I first laid eyes on the woman who would become my wife, Karen Kaler. A man could not ask for a better friend, a better companion, or a better partner than she is to me. She blessed me with 2 sons, Charlie and Sam, and every day they give me confidence in our future. To them and to our other family members, thank you for being here with me today. We have work to do. I am committed to reinvigorating how we teach and learn and ensuring an exceptional undergraduate experience, a rigorous graduate environment, and a world-class research enterprise. I'm committed to reimagining how we operate and function. I'm committed to championing the value of this university to the people of this state. I'm committed to strengthening our business, community, and philanthropic partnerships. I am committed to unleashing an entrepreneurial spirit amongst all of us, reaching globally even as we serve and engage our local communities. I am committed to leading a university that understands that diversity is critical to achieving excellence. Together, we can reinvent the land-grant vision of the 19th century to meet the global needs of the 21st century. And together, we can place the University of Minnesota among the group of the best public research universities in this nation. I am sure you recognize these words. Founded in the faith that men are ennobled by understanding. dedicated to the advancement of learning and the search for truth, devoted to the instruction of youth and the welfare of the state, complete with the gender bias of the early 20th century. Those are the words inscribed above the grand columns of Northrop Auditorium on the Twin Cities campus. Those 33 words are an enduring, succinct description of our noble mission. They are words that have stood the test of time and should continue to serve as a guidepost for all we do. I'll come back to those few words in a minute, but let me tell you first about IFRA SA and show you the impact this university can have on a student, her family, and our state. IFRA is from Minneapolis by way of Somalia. She is the sort of student and alumna who generates enormous pride in this university. By every measure, she is our pride and our promise. Let me tell you why. IFRA graduated in 2008 with a BA in sociology. That achievement came 12 years after she immigrated with her parents and her 8 surviving siblings from a Kenyan refugee camp. When IFRA arrived in the United States, she was 11. She could neither read nor write Somali and knew not a word of English. That changed. While in high school, she visited our Twin Cities campus and fell in love with it. She set and achieved a goal to become a University of Minnesota student. She remembers being inspired by her professors to think in new ways. The daughter of a truck driver and a school lunch worker, she worked full-time while at the U. This helped her family and paid for her books. As a strong student, she received grants and scholarships to help with tuition. Today, IFRA is a sourcing specialist for Target, working with vendors worldwide to deliver goods to stores nationwide. On her own time, she manages to mentor immigrants who, just like her, possess immense promise. 3 of IFRA's older siblings have also graduated from the U, including a brother who recently graduated from our medical school. A dozen years removed from a refugee camp, IFRA says the University of Minnesota has become an SA family tradition. IFRA, thank you for letting me tell your story, and please stand so we can honor you. By the way, she is now planning to apply to law school here. And IFRA, if you need a letter of recommendation, you just let me know. My friends, we just don't do any better than that. Students like IFRA are the heart and soul of this university, representing excellence, access, personal transformation, and a promise for our workforce and civic life, punctuated with a huge exclamation point of pride. She is an example of how this state's only land-grant university, as the governor said, we have one research university, fulfills its promise. We must keep that promise for and to all of our students on all of our distinctive campuses, from Crookston, known for its applied research and online learning innovations, to Rochester, with its joint programs using the Mayo Clinic and IBM facilities. From Morris, a unique public liberal arts college and a model of sustainability, to Duluth, home of the nation's only Large Lakes Observatory. We serve the entire state of Minnesota. We also innovate. We discover. We create the future. It is another essential part of our mission. The words on Northrop call it, quote, the search for truth, quote. We call it research. And we are Minnesota's only research university with world-class talent, laboratories, and equipment, Our scholars are engaged every day in investigations that offer great promises for cures, for technological advances, and for new understanding of the world's social and political problems. Why should you care about having a research university in your backyard? Because we are a home for innovation that makes Minnesota work, that contributes to the success of Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and startups. Our research university is also the cradle of creative thought in the arts and humanities, and we lead the way in professional studies such as law and medicine in this state. Those make Minnesota and the Twin Cities a cultural magnet within our region and within the nation. From the pacemaker to the black box, from open heart surgery to Honeycrisp apples, the university's history of discovery is rich and profound. Today, in laboratories just a short walk from here, we are investigating food safety and treatments of Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and childhood illnesses of all kinds. Now, can we guarantee that another life-saving bone marrow transplant protocol or another strain of soybeans will be developed here? Guarantees are tough. But I can guarantee you this: if we don't invest, if we don't attract and retain the best scientists, if we don't recruit and support the best young investigators and the best young minds, we absolutely will not discover new things. Instead, we will wither as a university and we will decline as a state. We enjoy today the fruits of investment that were made by our parents and our grandparents. If we don't invest just as they did, then our children and grandchildren will not have the benefits nor the standard of living that we enjoy. Norm Augustine, the former CEO of Lockheed Martin and a passionate supporter of research and development in higher education, put it this way: if you happen to be on an airplane that's losing altitude, and if you have to throw out things to cut weight, the absolute last thing you throw out is the engine. We are the engine for the future, and we have to invest to keep that engine running. When it comes to excellence, I know there is no great research university without a great medical school, without great health sciences. As in other areas of research and discovery, we have an exceptional history of innovation in the health sciences, and I am committed to moving us again to the very top tier of excellence nationally. We must ensure we can continue to produce the next generation of health professionals for our state. But even more than results, research produces trained people capable of finding the next generation of advances. I was a graduate student here, and I know what we can do. That is why we must strengthen our support of graduate students and graduate programs, but also challenge them and enable them to reach higher levels of discovery. I want us to be, the University of Minnesota to be, the destination of choice for the best and brightest graduate students from around the world. Our professional students, from pharmacy to public policy and from dentistry to business, have in their hands the future of our health, our companies, our government, and our society. Excellence in research extends far beyond the laboratory or the clinic. The humanities, social sciences, and arts are also integral to our research and discovery mission. Don Rendell, a former president of the University of Chicago, said it best, and I love this quote. Quote, "The ultimate foundation of any society ought to be the human imagination, honed to the greatest degree and in the company of its faithful companion, curiosity." End quote. Curiosity is the driver for creative work in all fields. A curious and open mind can yield previously unimagined beauty and ways of expression. Creative works are at the core of what we call civilization. and in turn, their development and maintenance are a core responsibility of universities such as ours. We will never step away from our societal obligations and our creative opportunities in the arts and the humanities. But we also know that the arts and humanities are essential for more than that. We know that American public higher education is the envy of the world. Why is that? It's because all of our students get a core liberal arts education. They gain knowledge of cultures and languages, as well as the ability to think critically and communicate effectively. The ability to reason and criticize is essential to our democracy and civil society. These skills are a bedrock for education across the University of Minnesota, and they must remain to be so. Let me turn now to public engagement, another of our critical activities. We will always respond to the changing needs of our communities, state, and world by sharing our expertise, our knowledge, our resources, and our discoveries. We have a tradition of outreach to rural communities that we absolutely will not abandon, not only because we're so directed by the Moral Act of 1862, and not only because we continue to advance our legacy of agricultural innovation and feeding the world. No, we won't abandon these roots because of students like Kenny Dietz. Kenny grew up on his family's farm near Marshall, Minnesota, tending crops and milking cows. Since he was a little boy, he has wanted to be a veterinarian. Kenny came to the University of Minnesota to achieve that goal. A few months ago, right after his freshman year, Kenny was accepted into Vet Fast, an accelerated veterinarian degree program here. Across the nation, there's an acute shortage of large animal veterinarians. And as the only veterinary college in the state, the University of Minnesota has an obligation to help meet this shortage. Vet Fast students receive their Bachelor of Science and Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degrees in 7 years instead of 8. Saves a year's tuition, it's good for the economy, and it allows young people like Kenny to give back to his community and live the dream he first had in kindergarten. Kenny, congratulations, and please stand so we can honor you. Thank you. Now, while we are committed to our roots, the fact is the world keeps getting smaller, and as Minnesotan Thomas Friedman says, flatter. We must rethink our mission of public engagement for the 21st century and recreate new pathways for engagement locally, nationally, and globally. Driving excellence in our mission activities is not enough. We also must be excellent in all that we do. Do you remember the solemn and inspirational words on Northrop? Founded in the faith, dedicated to the advancement, devoted to the instruction. The story behind those 33 words is instructive. It goes like this. The idea for inscribing profound words on Northrop was hatched in 1924, about the same time construction was first proposed. 4 years later, January of 1928, President Lotus Kaufman appointed a committee, an inscription committee. This is a true story, to write the words. This committee did not meet until March 1929, 14 months later. They had scheduling issues. Because they couldn't come to agreement, the project lost steam and was not revived until the summer of 1935, 6 years after the first committee meeting. By then, Northrop had already opened, with no words. During this time, the university hired an inscription consultant. And he was, of course, from California. By May of 1936, the words were settled on and by the committee and soon after inscribed. They're beautiful words, but 12 years for 33 words? It's a funny story, but it's a story that I hope is an inspiration for change in culture. A reset that drives us to be more entrepreneurial, less risk-averse, and better partners. We have to we must reduce bureaucracy, focus on shared values, and as you have heard me say, pick up the pace. In every aspect of university operations, we need to question what we do. We need to know if it has the intended outcome, if we could do it better, or not at all. There is a real cost to slowness, to long meetings, excessive committee deliberations, and endless email chains. There is a cost in human resource time and in the tangled web of bureaucracy that dogs us. And there are opportunity costs. Of course we are going to be data-driven and we're going to be collaborative. A university president has to be relentlessly consultative, but not to the point of stagnation, indecision, and missed opportunity. This institution needs to have an administrative backbone that's effective in supporting teaching, research, and public engagement. But today, I am committing to you that while I am president, we will reduce the cost of administration at this university every single year. I promise you efficiency in administrative operations, but we also need to closely re-examine the academic programs we offer, the centers and institutes we support, and the methods of engagement we use. We must be sure they are as effective as they possibly can be. And if we conduct that examination in an unsentimental and intellectually honest way, we will find programs that we don't need. We will find centers that are no longer useful. And we will also find opportunities for transformational, intra- and interdisciplinary advances that we will take. Now, only the faculty, in consultation with constituencies and with the help of our staff, can ensure that the intellectual mission of this university is at the highest level. To my faculty colleagues, your work drives this university. But if your research is stale, if your classroom is boring, if your community engagement is ineffective, you must reinvent yourself or, frankly, step aside. I have never met a faculty colleague who did not want to be working at a great university, and this is going to be an even greater university. But as you expect me to deliver on my job, I expect you to deliver on yours. We also need to look externally. We must better define our partnership with the Minnesota State Colleges and University Systems and more clearly articulate the public value and distinctive role of each institution, while at the same time working together as closely as possible to deliver higher education in the state of Minnesota as effectively as possible. Philanthropy. We cannot achieve our promise without philanthropy. Private support is profoundly important, especially as we face public disinvestment in higher education and a resulting rise in tuition. Now, philanthropy will not and should not replace public investment. But philanthropy does play an absolutely pivotal role in building on the foundation of public investment to catapult us to excellence. It is the difference between merely good and great. I'd like to take a minute to speak directly to our more than 500,000 alumni around the world, many of whom are watching from distant places. This is a great university, and I bet many of you would be astounded at the quality of the system today. I have been on all of our campuses, and our facilities and laboratories are world-class. Teaching is a priority, undergraduate research is robust, study abroad is encouraged, and our athletic programs are creating cheers and champions. Alumni, we need you. We need your input, we need your energy, and we need your financial support. Please consider how best you can give back of your time, your talent, or your treasure. Generosity without boundaries, with only the future of young people in mind, has a transformative power to deliver on this promise of a great university. These are painful times. Poverty in Minnesota is at an all-time high. Unemployment has severely affected many of our neighborhoods. Giving is difficult for many of us, but for those of us who have benefited from the generosity of others and to whom so much has been given, contributing to this university will go a long way to preserving our shared values of access and excellence. My wife, Karen, our sons, and I are committed to access for students who otherwise could not afford to attend. To underscore our commitment, we are establishing today the Kaler Family Scholarship Fund. It will support 4 scholarships for undergraduate students each year. I will be relentless and passionate about encouraging others to join us in making similar commitments. Thank you. In addition to individual philanthropy, we must continue to strengthen our partnerships with the business community and foundations. These partnerships reflect business leaders' understanding of the value of having a world-class university in their backyard. It's so important when it comes to successfully attracting and retaining qualified employees. You've heard my story, Ephra's story, Kenny's story. All 3 of us were able to attend this wonderful university because of financial aid from private and public sources. It's up to all of us to ensure that future generations of talented students are not shut out because of economic circumstances beyond their control and beyond their family's control. Before I conclude, there are 2 additional points I feel especially strongly about. One is diversity. Any great team, organization, or university must actively pursue diversity in our faculty, among our staff, and within our student body. I can think of no community, no challenge, no classroom that is not enhanced by diversity of thought, of background, of language, of values, of religion, of gender, of ways of knowing. Diversity pushes us to challenge our assumption. It sparks our creativity, and it enables a richer and, frankly, more interesting life. A student who by accident or by plan has a narrow and homogeneous education will be spectacularly ill-equipped to succeed in modern life. Diversity is also an economic and civic imperative. By 2035, almost half of the citizens in the Twin Cities metro area will be people of color. Yet today, our state has one of the nation's largest achievement gaps between students of color and white students, from kindergarten to 12th grade, and that gap extends into higher education. We all bear responsibility. And if we are to prosper in the future as a state, it's incumbent upon all of us to close this achievement gap. And I will partner relentlessly with K-12 leaders and others to bring university expertise and resources to reach this goal. Education. paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, education is the path to a better life. It always has been. The second important matter is advocacy. Each of us must step up to the plate and advocate tirelessly for this great university. Every day when I walk into my office, I ask, what am I doing to increase the pride in this university system? What am I doing today to improve our communities? What am I doing today to fulfill the university's potential and its promise? I urge you to ask the same questions of yourself, be you a student, a professor, a researcher, an administrator, a food service worker, a residence hall advisor, an alum, a business leader, an elected official, a coach, or a regent. What am I doing today to improve the lives of our students and our state? The more we do, the more the nation and the world will know that the University of Minnesota boldly stands for excellence, access, discovery, community engagement, diversity, and a global reach in an ever-competitive world. And we will take our place, our rightful place, in the front rank of great public research universities. Wrapped in tradition, lifted by pride, driven by our desire to fulfill our great promise, we have much work to do. Let's go do it together. Thank you.
Congratulations, President Kaler, on your inauguration. I would like to recognize the extraordinary contribution to today's ceremony by the student performers from our music department under the talented leadership of Professor David Myers. Thanks to everyone here for your ongoing support and advocacy of the University of Minnesota. Your consistent engagement is vital to achieving the agenda just laid out by President Kaler. Everyone is welcome to a public reception from 2 to 4 p.m. this afternoon at the Kaufman Union. And finally, we request that the audience remain seated until the procession has left the hall. Let's all rise now as we sing Hail Minnesota.